Oh, freedom. This is a very famous Black spiritual. Oh, freedom over me, and before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. This song inspired me for this lesson. I thought that we could draw symbols that represent freedom around the world. Now, there are lots more symbols than we're able to draw today. I want to talk to you about a few that we won't draw. Most of you know about the Statue of Liberty in New York. I didn't want to try to draw that, but that is of course known all over the world. The bald eagle is also a very important bird in our country as a symbol of freedom. In other countries, the Andean condor is known for freedom in South America, and the hummingbird in East Asia. A bird in flight is a universal sign of freedom. Now, some of the symbols that we are going to draw: the Liberty Bell, which is in Philadelphia, broken chains, and no one really knows where this exactly came from, but obviously broken chains represents freedom from confinement, restriction, punishment. And it is thought that perhaps it came from the French Revolution, when the prisoners were let out of the jails. The pine tree is a symbol that was used by the colonists for their flag before the colonies became the United States of America. And feathers are used by Native Americans to represent many things, one of which is freedom. Wings, also a universal symbol of freedom. I've chosen 4 or 5 of these to work on with you today. Let's begin with the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell says on it, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the lands unto all the inhabitants thereof." Inhabitants is another word for the people that live there. And the Liberty Bell was commissioned in 1752. So it's in Philadelphia. We'll start with a curved top and bring it down the sides, and then little bit of curve here. Okay, and then all right, and now it's held up by some kind of scaffolding, so we'll suggest that over here and bring down the poles. And I outlined this in my dark pencil. And then color it gray, as you can see. I won't do that right now to take away from the video time, but the gray works well with a dark pencil. Now let's do the broken chains. Chains, of course, represent confinement, imprisonment, and to have them broken represents freedom and liberation. So just a couple of straight lines, and then some curved lines. And as you can see, I colored it in brown, and you can do the same or another color. I certainly wouldn't color it in a bright color. I don't think chains are ever in a fun color. And as I told you in the introduction, we're not really sure how the chains came to mean freedom, but they think it might be connected to the French Revolution. All right, now in Native American culture, the feather represents freedom. So this one, you have a straight line and then lots of feathery lines coming out from the center line. All right, and I took the dark pink and went over the top of the lines quickly. And then to make it more interesting, I put pink over the top. And darkened the center. The pine tree was our symbol for the colonist flag, and it represented the struggle for emancipation. Emancipation means freedom. Of course, we spent a whole lesson on different kinds of Christmas trees. The pine tree is like a Christmas tree. It could be used as a Christmas tree. So you can color this. And as I usually do, I put another color over the top to make it more interesting. Wings is one of those universal things. It represents freedom. And again, just some quick gestures like that, sort of curved lines. And what I did is I colored it all white with a crayon. White doesn't show up very much, but it does create texture. So I colored it with a crayon, white. And then I went back and took my gray crayon and started creating some curved lines to create motion. So the Liberty Bell, broken chains, feather, pine tree, wings, these are all symbols of freedom. And as I told you at the beginning of the video, there are many more as well, but these were some that I thought that we could draw. I look forward to seeing photos of your artwork. Please send them to me. And until next week, have a good week. This is Dr. D.